Welcome back, kids. This is David Johnson, back with another edition or episode, whatever the fuck you want to call it, of Project Building the Overman. You've had a couple days now to kind of look around, see some of the scattered stuff that I'm going to be putting up on the site, hopefully wonder what the hell it's all going to be about. I figured today I'd go into a little bit more detail about what Project Building the Overman is going to be. I was already told by the guy that handles a lot of my website stuff, it's not referred to it as a fan page because Lord knows a year from now, Facebook might not exist. Yeah, fucking right. But we don't want to, pigeonhole it as just a fan page. Rather, it's a project. And, I agree with him. He's got a good point. The idea here is to take over the entire world, or better yet, to kind of change the world, be a catalyst for change, to change the world in a way that I think would make it a lot cooler. So let's get into a little bit of detail on what I see Project Building the Overman as being. First of all, the name. Where the hell did the name come from? Overman is a synonym or a rough translation of Friedrich Nietzsche, German philosopher. He talked about the Übermensch. In his book, Also Spoke Zarathustra, or Also Sprach Zarathustra, Nietzsche went into his concept of the Übermensch. And you've probably heard the term thrown around, Übermensch, because nowadays everybody thinks they're uber cool and all that. The best literal translation is Overman. Some will translate it as Superman. Nietzsche's writing on this, in my opinion, has been totally misconstrued over the years. Insofar as even Hitler took the idea and kind of tried to run with it, totally fucked it up. I mean, for the record, Nietzsche actually said that anyone who's an anti-Semite should be dragged out in the street and shot. So Hitler didn't really have the right to usurp that concept. But in a nutshell, why did I go with the idea of the Übermensch or the Overman? Well, I was looking back and kind of pondering all the various philosophical influences that I've had over the years, my biggest one being the philosophies of Ayn Rand, secondarily being Aristotle, and tertiary probably being Nietzsche. And I realized that pretty much everything that I've always been striving towards and driving at has been this concept of the Overman or the Übermensch. For a minute, I actually considered calling this something along the lines of megalopsyche, which was Aristotle's concept, the magnanimous man or the big-souled man. When Aristotle wrote his Ethics, he talked about, a bunch of different virtues, and one of them was being a magnanimous man, by which he meant being a man of big soul. Whatever it is that you do when you're walking in this world, walk big. If you're going to make money, make a lot of money. If you're going to lift weights, be big as shit, be strong as shit. Essentially, push the envelope, don't be mediocre, don't be average. It's not exactly what Aristotle meant, but it was kind of along those lines. That name was a little bit too esoteric, a little bit too academic. I knew it wasn't going to have any translation. And to be blunt, Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch fit what I wanted to broadcast a little bit better. So, a little bit of detail on what exactly was Nietzsche driving at. Let's turn to a very scholarly source, namely the Urban Dictionary. Not because I think it has any legitimacy, but rather because one of the posts here under the definition of Übermensch, I think really fucking nails it. Okay, what I'm driving at, and I think what Nietzsche was really driving at. Okay, so I'm going to read here for a minute. Forgive me. The Übermensch is Friedrich Nietzsche's answer to the problem of nihilism. Nietzsche begins his premise with the assumption that God does not exist, and if God doesn't exist, then objective morality and inherent value are not possible, since there's no ultimate being that exists to create morality and value in the first place. Nietzsche's Übermensch will act as his own God, giving himself morality and value as he sees fit according to him alone. The Übermensch is neither slave nor master, as he does not impose his will upon others. The Übermensch is an independent individual who has the power to banish herd instincts from his mind and become a master of self-discipline. Above all, the Übermensch is the next step in human evolution. Every human must deal with the question, what is the meaning of life? Some say God in heaven, others say ultimate objective virtue, but the Übermensch will give life value that is not based on superstition or mystical folly. The Übermensch finds value in his life experience because it cannot be reasoned out through argument and logic. The Übermensch would say that the meaning of life is that you die, so make it valuable. Okay, so I think this post really nails the nail on the head. The idea here, I don't want to get too much into the secular aspect versus the religious aspects of all that, although of course that's going to pertain here. The idea really is, number one, not accepting herd mentality, not accepting the values that have been kind of thrust into your immediate awareness, whether by your parents, whether by society, whether by the church, or these days more likely, whether by social media, whether by commercials and commercialism, not embracing that wholeheartedly simply because you're a fucking drone that doesn't have any independent thought process whatsoever. Okay? But rather, going out into the world, first of all, defining your own values. That doesn't mean just making up right and wrong necessarily. It means figuring out what really matters to you, what you're really passionate about, independent of all the bullshit that you're inundated with daily at your office setting, with television, with social media, with all that crap, okay? Thinking about what really matters to you. And then number two, more importantly, fucking doing it, getting it, going out into the world, finding what it is that matters to you and making it come to life. In that sense, quote unquote, being your own God, right? You know, Nietzsche was around at a time, you got to remember, Christianity and religion specifically had dominated values and pretty much all of life for well over 1,000 years, okay? Any sense of secularism had died back with the Romans, and you had at least 1,000 years of just darkness and plague and, you know, crap, okay? Thank you very much, Christianity. I'm sure I lost at least 50% of my viewers with that one. You don't like that fact? Go read a fucking book. I don't know what to tell you. History is what it is, right? And then along came Darwin and some other thinkers that started saying, well, you know, there's this thing called science. And for the first time in a very long time, people started to question some of their value systems, you know. Maybe not everything is run by God. For the first time, people started putting rational thought and scientific thought above religious thought and faith in well over a millennia. And that was why Nietzsche coined the phrase, God is dead. You know, Nietzsche obviously didn't believe in God, so saying God is dead is, you know, not literal. What he meant is God's reign on morality and our life. Religion's reign on morality and our life. Herd thinking, okay? The Catholic Church specifically, but, you know, the church per se, their reign over our life, over our value systems, telling us what we're supposed to care about, how we're supposed to act, it's done. There's something else out there now, namely science, that's more important, that trumps that. And that was really revolutionary at the time, okay? Now nowadays, I'm sure a lot of you claim you're religious. No one these days is actually religious except the crazy fucks that are blowing things up, okay? That's what truly religious people do. And again, you don't like that statement, check your history. It'll verify it. We got the Crusades. We got plenty of shit to confirm as much. When you hear voices in your head that tell you your top value is not here on this world, but rather being dead, what are you going to do? You're going to chase death. That's what religion leads to. So this is the contrast of this. Believe it or not, there was a time in human history before all this Christian nonsense when there were value systems that were possible that were secular, that were about embracing this life and being successful and happy in this world, right? The last line from this Urban Dictionary description of the Übermensch, the Übermensch would say that the meaning of life is that you die, so make it valuable. And I'd like to actually make that a little more emphatic. The Übermensch would say that the meaning of life is that you die, so fucking make it valuable. Don't waste your time here just doing shit because people say it's supposed to matter to you, you know, slaving away at some corporate bullshit job that you fucking hate so you can collect enough dollars to buy some other shit that doesn't really mean anything to you, all right? We've seen a lot of art, we've seen a lot of writing over the years that has encouraged this concept of freedom from, you know, the mold, right? Remember the good old movie American Beauty? Everybody loved it and swooned over it because this guy woke up one day and had a realization that he was just wasting his time. Everybody liked that for about 30 seconds, and then they went right back on Facebook and clicked like 8,000 times and shared a bunch of schmaltzy bullshit that had no meaning. All right? It's time to get away from that. It's time to pull your head out of your ass and start thinking for yourself, you know, possibly redefine and rethink through your value system. So, in a nutshell, building the Overman is going to be my attempt to get people thinking outside that box and hopefully a call to arms for you to figure out what your true passions are, figure out what your true values are, and then actually go out and make it happen so that we can be the next step in human evolution, the Overmen, the Übermensch, right? It's capable, any one of you can do this. You do not need to be some special genetic elite person. It's all about applying your rational faculty consistently, thoroughly, being critical, being analytical, putting some actual thought into your day-to-day existence, defining what matters, and then putting together a game plan to make it happen, knowing the virtues that are necessary to bring your values to life, and then make them real, all right? So everything that I put up on this site, whether it's a video, whether it's a work of art, whether it's something that I've written, is going to be somehow, some way along that theme, because essentially everything that's been driving my life, at least since the age of 15 when I started reading philosophy, but much earlier than that subconsciously, has been this call to being an Overman. And now you see it. I've built the body of an Overman. I've built the business of an Overman. I've built the fucking family of an Overman with a beautiful trophy wife and the prettiest daughter on the planet. I am the Overman. It's time for you to be the Overman too. Project Building the Overman. We're not going to call it a Facebook fan page or any of that shit. It's just going to be something really awesome. So if that idea intrigues you at all, again, follow along. We're going to be getting more stuff up like this that pertain to specific topics, whether it's politics, religion, bodybuilding, culture, you name it. I'm sure I'm going to run the gamut over time because Lord knows I have plenty of opinions, and I'm going to be tying it to all kinds of history and philosophy and all that crap because, well, that's what I enjoy doing. So, David Johnson, Project Building the Overman. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you follow along. And if not, go fuck yourself. I'll talk to you soon.